Do Old Testament tonight. We've been doing some Old Testament work on Sunday nights, and it's been very fascinating. We did the Jacob wrestling, the wrestling match that changed the world last week. And this week we're doing one involving Abraham and Isaac. And once again, as you get into this, and you open up the Bible to start reading it, try to move away from thinking of this as human beings. Okay, that's not what it's for, because the story is silly if that's what it's for. On the other hand, if you think that what's being portrayed here are different points or aspects of your nature, yourself, then you'll get something out of it. Let's go on to page 16 in the little Bibles and Genesis chapter 22. Genesis 22. And verse 1, and it says, "It came to pass that God did tempt Abraham." And that word tempt means actually, in the context that we're looking at it, evolution. Each and every one of us are tempted to move to higher ground. Finally, when we yield to that temptation, if you would, then we find our pathway to a higher realm of living. In this particular context, it's what's being said here. So the temptation is the movement within ourselves to find a higher, to let go of something that has held us and allow us to be free. And that's what the temptation means. It's a form of evolution to a higher degree of consciousness. Okay? And God says in verse 2, "Take now your only son, Isaac, who you love." Now, what you've got to do is not go any further than that, okay? You've got to stop right there and look at the name of that son, which is Isaac, okay? That word, Isaac, means laughter, okay? It means joy. It means laughter. It means that part of us that we put our entire confidence in as the thing that will bring us joy, the thing that will bring us happiness. And that is what you have got to take. Your dependence on this as your source of joy, your source of life, your source of fun, your source of fulfillment, and sacrifice it. See, so you see what's being done here. You're using a name which has a meaning. It means laughter. It's what you and I perceive as the way to joy, the way to fulfillment, okay? And there's a Japanese legend that I found that is interesting. It says that the sun goddess, a Japanese legend about the sun goddess, that it is only when the lower nature is outgrown at resurrection that the gods laugh. So here is what's being asked. You're Abraham in this particular aspect. Abraham, that Abra means father, and you're Abraham, the consciousness, the mind, is lifting itself upward, and what you're going to have to do if you're going to reach a fulfillment is sacrifice that dependency, or what you consider joy, life, which in this particular case is labeled Isaac. Now, what's it say here? "Take your son Isaac, whom you love, and get into the land of Moriah." Okay? Now, where are you going to take this part of you? When you come in here on Tuesday night, where are you going to take this part of you? That word Moriah means the chosen. Okay? That's what it means. It means the chosen. So here then, you, as you know, are going to lift yourself into the higher realms of consciousness. You're going to camp at the right side, the right hemisphere of the brain, in meditation, where you will then become a Jew, which is the tribe of Judah, or one of God's chosen people. Okay? That's what it's talking about. Take that which is your lower nature, the part that you depend on for your source of joy, and take it into that land which is the higher dwelling place where you will become one of God's chosen people. And that's what's being said in the very first line, see. So what you're going to do, you're going to give up the laughter of the lower, the joy of the lower, to receive the laughter of the higher. As the legend of the Japanese sun god says, when you give up the lower and you raise yourself to the higher, the gods laugh. If you want to take the story literally, where religion, to me, does a tremendous disservice, if you want to take the story literally, then you have a God somewhere who is going to play a game, and just put yourself in that position, you that have children. This God says, take your little child and kill it, and then bring it up on top of this mountain and set fire to the child. And then you'll, and so the thing is, are you going to, I see if you're going to obey me. Well, I know there's not one of you in here who would even look twice and say, hey, get lost. You know, if that's the kind of a God. And so this God, then you're going to take your little child, tie it to a thing somewhere, and then raise your knife, and as you bring your knife down, this God's going to say, never mind. What a horrible thing to do. But you know, most religion and Christianity take that story literally just as it is. The horror of it. I mean, what kind, and this is our Heavenly Father who would do something like that. So there's nobody in here would allow this to be done to their child, and obviously you wouldn't. But when you understand the thing in the realms that we're going to show you it tonight, it takes on a whole different meaning, as you'll see. The Spirit's going to reveal the truth. So what's happening here then is a total separation of the will. Your human will. This is what's going to take place. Isaac is going to be sacrificed. The dependence on that lower part, which has brought what you thought is the only way to find joy, is going to be sacrificed in the land of God's chosen. And the only place where God has chosen is the right side, in the tribe of Judah. Note, at the right side, at the east. Okay. So Abraham, in this particular instance, is willing to sacrifice, as you are. Each one of you, I see you come in here on Tuesday nights, the thing is you are willing to sacrifice your dependency on the lower so that you can raise yourself to the higher. And that's reasonable, and that has nothing to do with dragging your little child by the hair up a mountain and taking a knife and killing it and saying, you know, aren't I faithful, you know. What Jesus Christ and the Apostle Paul said basically in focusing in on what we're talking about, that we no longer fulfill the desires of the flesh. But let's go on. Let's look at Genesis chapter 22, verse 30. That these are all metaphysical and mystical. Remember what let me show you something. When you look at, well, I didn't say that. I said verse 3, but what I wanted to do is make sure whether you were paying attention. It's Sunday evening, you're getting tired, right, Lori? Lori's getting the nods over there. I wanted to make sure that you're paying attention. Genesis 22. Remember what you're looking at. Somebody go in your little Bibles and where Paul is talking about Abraham, and find the book of Galatians, and go to Galatians chapter 4 in your little Bible, because it's important that I should. And if you can, find chapter 4 of the book of Galatians and tell me what page it's on. Actually, chapter 4, yeah. What is it? 952. Turn to page 952 in those little Bibles. Here, the Apostle Paul is talking about Abraham and Sarah, okay, and their lives and so forth and so on. And he makes a very important, because I would have no right to do this to this story if I did not have authority from the Bible. And if you look at Galatians chapter 4 on page 952, in talking about Abraham, the Apostle Paul in verse 24 says, which things are an allegory. Okay? That means this is symbolic. So now, then we can look at the story symbolically and understand that there is no God who's saying to this man, I want you to sacrifice your son. But we understand symbolically that what is happening is the mind within us must sacrifice that which we depend on for life and for what we think is joy, take it into the land of God's chosen, which we know to be at the right hemisphere of the brain. Okay? Now, Genesis chapter 22, verse 3. And Abraham rose up early in the morning where the light first breaks through. Okay? Where the light first breaks through. Always these things happen in the morning. Jesus' resurrection is in the morning. All of this stuff happens in the morning because the darkness has left the land. There is light. You will not rise up. No one can rise up into the higher realms until you've been enlightened. It can't happen. And so it'll always happen in this type of allegorical scripture in the morning. They always rise up early in the morning. Okay? That simply means, once again, the darkness is gone, you have become enlightened, now you realize it is necessary to get up. So everybody rises up early in the morning, okay? Bright morning star. Let me show you something. If you'll take your little Bible, go to page 464, look at the book of Psalms, and there, if you will look at Psalm chapter 5, okay? Psalm chapter 5, and let me show you something, verse 3, okay, with me? Shall you hear in the morning, O Lord? In the morning will I direct my prayer unto you and will look up. Why? Because the darkness is over. You are no longer hemmed in by religion, by tradition, by fear. You are now free. You are enlightened. The darkness is over. And when you are enlightened, you will look up. Okay? So that's why. And what's the first thing you do? Okay, look what Abraham did. Genesis 22, verse 3, page 16. And Abraham rose up early in the morning and saddled his ass. What does that mean? That means he subdues his stubborn, carnal nature so that it will serve the will of God. The ass, the donkey, symbolizes exactly what it is, our stubbornness. And when he saddles it, it means he has put a control over his stubborn nature. He is now enlightened, and he is ready to rise up into the will of God. Okay? So you see how allegory is used in these types of writings to tell a story of consciousness, a story of what goes on within us, and has nothing to do. What happened, you remember in the story in Matthew 21 when Jesus rode into Jerusalem on the donkey, on the ass. Why? He had subdued the carnal nature and he was taking it into the holy place, into the holy city. The Christ does that. Now look in verse 3 again. And saddled his ass and took 2 of his young men with him. The 2 young men stand for those aspects of your nature. You could call it body and soul. You can call it spirit and mind, physical and spiritual, whatever you want to call it. It's part of the lower nature, okay? But that's what it represents. There's always the 2. There's the 2 thieves by the cross, and there's the 2 olive branches. And these 2 men, these 2 young men, represent that part of the physical that, acts within you to get you to that point of turning. But you'll see something interesting happens as we get along here. In verse 3, rising up, following God's spiritual direction above the carnal mind. See, that rising up is exactly what, it goes on here on Tuesday when you go into the meditation aspects of this thing, rising up early, okay? Now in verse 4, Genesis 22, verse 4, see something interesting here. When did Abraham see? On the 3rd day. Number 3 means new life, resurrection. Jonah is in the whale, 3 days. Jesus is in the tomb, 3 days. The Apostle Paul has his eyes closed, 3 days. That number 3 takes you an experience through the darkness of the great fish into the great tomb, deep into that which is the holy place of God. And so here in the very same thing, on the 3rd day, he lifted up his eyes and saw the place afar off. Okay? Look at page 530 in your little Bibles, and let's look at Psalm 121. So here you have a story that is written out so grotesquely as if there's a God who would ask a human being to, playing a trick on somebody that pretend that in order to make God happy, you got to take your child up and stab it to death with a knife and then burn it up in a mountain somewhere. Here you have that, and you throw all of that nonsense away, and you get in beyond the words into the allegorical part that Paul says that this is, and you realize now we're rising up, we're taking our stubborn nature, we are taking that part we depend on up into the mountain where we will be one of God's chosen people, dwelling at the right-hand side, and hear the number 3. Look at Psalm 121. That's on page 530. Okay? And let's see what it says. Psalm 121. I will lift up my eyes unto the hills from whence comes my help. Okay? I will lift up my eye. What did Abraham do? He was going into the land of Moriah, to the mountain, and he lifted up his eyes and he saw the hill. When you come into meditation, when you lift up your eye, the single eye, you lift up your spirit, and you see with that single eye the direction from whence comes the help of your life. Okay? He lifted up his eyes and he says, that third day, that dawning of a new spiritual experience now is ours. And that's really beautiful as we begin to understand this. And all of us, I guess, too, basically we see it from afar off. It's not something that, you can say, hey, I've had this kind of a vision that a lot of people try to experience. Incidentally, did Mary make an appearance today? I don't know. Did she show up today? This was, okay. Well, I'm sure we'll get to do this. Now, here's an interesting thing. Watch this. Now, remember the two young men represent part of the physical aspects of the mind, the physical, the human side, the human spirit and soul. Genesis 22, verse 5, page 16. Page 16. And Abraham said unto his young men, abide here with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship and come again to you. Here's the point of total separation. That part that represents the physical, is you stay. That is all part, the carnal mind, the stubborn nature, that which is the lower body, that which is the lower, everything has to stay. It can't go, it can't touch the holy mountain. The limitations of personality are left behind. Nothing that is external to the spirit can come and touch the mountain. And what is that talking about? There is, no matter what you do, it doesn't make any difference who you go to, it doesn't make any difference who teaches you, it doesn't make any difference what suggestions you get. What will come to you will come only when you are completely gone, when you are completely shut down, when everything is completely liquidated as far as your grasp on it, and that part where spirit comes. Somebody was telling me this morning in church that I guess it was you, was driving a car or something like that, when something occurred. And we were saying, yes, even when you go into meditation sometimes and you try to reach a particular thing, if you've reached that particular thing, you can say, it's your emotions, it's your mind, it's whatever. But this that happens totally out of nothingness, out of nowhere, when you don't even expect it, you can't prepare for it. This comes upon you. And there is no possible way that you can use a technique, that you can use anything whatsoever to get to that holy place. Everything that you have, everything that you depend on, everything that is helpful within you has got to stay. Nothing can go near that holy mountain. Let me show you something. Maybe if you look at page 63 in the Bible and look at the Exodus chapter 19, page 63. Exodus chapter 19. And in chapter 19 of the book of Exodus, let's look at verse number 12. And you shall set bounds unto the people round about, saying, take heed to yourself that you go not up into the mountain or touch the border of it. Whoever touches the border of the mountain shall be put to death. There shall not a hand touch it. What's it talking about? It doesn't make any difference. What it's talking about is there is no way for you to become enlightened. There is no way for you to become saved. There is no way for you to become mystical. There is no way, nothing whatsoever you can do to get near that place. The only way that you can enter into that holy place is when you cease to exist. And so that which is the physical, that which is the lower, has to stay with the stubborn nature. And all alone you envelop yourself in total nothingness. The part of you that enters into the holy place in meditation has nothing to do with the part of you that's sitting here now. Remember what we were talking about this morning? There is a part of you that manifests itself based on where you live, on who your parents were, on the conditions of what kind of food you ate, what kind of education you had. All of these things cultured around you, and you wind up being the person you are now. That has nothing to do with the you who is eternal. It has nothing to do with the you who always existed, who never was born, who never will die, but a distinct personality who always is. That one is the only one who enters into that holy place. Everything else that is the human part of you stays down with the ass until the other returns. So it's this frustration. I look at a lot of these New Age books. So you get this, you go that, you do this, you do that, you do the other things. It's meaningless. Absolutely meaningless, because all you're doing is taking your form, conditioned, molded, and shaped by the society, and trying to walk into that holy place, up into that holy mountain, and you can't get in. You can't touch it. It'll touch you, but it will not touch the you that is the Joan or the Laurie or the Al or the Rose. It'll touch you that is the eternal center of all things. That part of you will go to the mountain. But that part of you which is instructed can never, ever, ever, ever get near the holy mountain until you do as you're told and leave the lower part of you behind. Just stop it. See, that's why sometimes when you people say, visualize this, think this, say this, do that, do nothing. It won't work. It won't work. It only can be as it said here. Everything has got to stay. Leave it here. Leave it here and allow the holy part to go. Nothing else works. So when people say, oh, well, what do you feel? If you feel something, you're a million miles away. Because that which is enveloped into it. See, remember what we were saying this morning? There is that which is the divine essence of you, which is separated totally from what you are now. I mean, the ladies sitting here in your next experience, you may be men, you may be professional football players, I don't know. But you don't have to necessarily be the same sex. You're not going to be the same size. You're not going to look the same. Remember what we said this morning? What is it? The actor plays the part. On Shakespeare's stage, he plays the part. The play is over. He leaves. The character isn't stabbed to death on the stage. Oh, the character died, but the actor goes. And then the actor gets a contract, and he comes up, and he plays in a different play. The actor's always here, playing in a play, but the character died. See? And you're the actor. And you're on the stage of life, and you play many, 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 many parts. But that one thing that Jesus said, enter the closet and close the door on the self. You cannot, no matter what you do, find any technique that will take you into the holy place. You simply have to stop. And it will take you. That's the point of total separation. In fact, it's Noah's Ark. It's entering in and shutting the door. And everything that you've ever thought was important. That's what Noah had to do. He had to go in and shut the door on everything that he thought was important. His hometown, his country, his traditions, his religion, everything. He had to shut the door on it and not allow the storms to lift him up into the holy place. He didn't know where the heck he was. Where was he when the boat came down? He didn't know. The door opened, and he didn't even know that. He did not know anything because he sent out a raven, which was the negative impulses we all send out. And until he was ready to send out a dove and allow things, he never knew until the dove came back with that olive branch of peace. And then he felt it, and they stepped out, and he was on the mountain. He didn't know how to get to the mountain. He didn't know. See, in 1 Corinthians 2:14 it says, the natural man receives not the things of God. They are spiritual. Did you ever see that? You should see it. Page 932. 1 Corinthians. I'm not going to rush through it. The heck, where are you going anyhow? 1 Corinthians chapter 2. Verse 14. See? Now watch what it says. And this is why I'm saying, when you're trying to get all of this junk to take you up and to have a great meditation, take all the junk and, just give it back. It's not going to work. There is no answers to it. There is nobody in the New Age or the Old Age or this age that can tell you how to get 1 inch closer to the holy place. Because nobody knows. You just have to be willing to do what this story is saying and sacrifice the lower and wait. Look. 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 14, the natural man receives not the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness unto him. Neither can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned. You can't understand it. You can't learn it. You can't study it. It doesn't exist in this realm that your mind exists. You can't get it. See? And so what you have to do is exactly what has to be done here. Willingness to take control of your stubborn nature, take down the ego, and get out and from under all of that which you depend on as the joy of your life, and allow yourself to go into the land of the chosen people by what? As Jesus says, shutting down, take no thought, separate into absolute nothingness. And where then that center of you goes is none of your lower mind's business. And when you turn and say, where did I go? Your divine part will say, mind your own business. It's none of your business. Go about your sloppy work. Go to the ShopRite and do all this stuff. Watch Edward Cronkite on TV. The heck do you know? See what I'm saying? That's what people do. But people do not go to the holy mountain. Only the God part goes to the holy mountain. And the God part of most of us has never been allowed to go to the holy mountain. Okay, page 16, Genesis 22. Genesis 22, verse 6. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it upon Isaac his son. Do you know what wood means? Do you know what wood, the metaphysical meaning of the word wood? You have two planes, a physical plane and an astral plane. The astral plane is the part of you that will go up into glory. That's the part of you that communes with what we call God. Some people say they can see auras. The aura is the astral plane. It is an electrical field which surrounds the body. Many times you can see this. I don't know how. I don't look for it. I could care less. But some people say, oh, I see in your aura or somebody's aura, which is fine. Which is fine. But that's what it is. There is an electrical field which surrounds the body, and it is in different colors. Wood means the astral plane. That's what it means. And so what's happening here? In Chinese, it says the third person from the east. Listen to this now. What has just happened? The wood is placed on that which is this. In Chinese, it says the third person from the east is the superintendent of the wood. Huh? The third person, new life, the third person from the east, from the right side, is the one who supervises the astral plane of all life. The new life, that which is the resurrection power that comes from the right hemisphere of the brain, is the part that supervises the astral plane. The third person from the east is the superintendent of the wood. The Vendadad of Krishna says, the first place where the earth feels most joy is when the faithful one steps forward with the holy wood. So the wooden cross also of Jesus, we begin to understand all of this stuff. It's talking about the astral plane. Remember what Jesus said? You must take up your cross and follow him. You must take up that cross of wood. You must take up your energy to rise into the astral plane as he did and follow him into these higher dominions and higher domains of consciousness. And wood, in Greek, you have the 5 stages of consciousness, which is earth, water, air, fire. In Chinese, that second stage, which relates to water in Greek, is wood. Wood is the second stage in Chinese. And so then we understand it is that which we depend on, that which is our lower nature, which is going to be sacrificed, and that which will manifest itself through the astral plane. Now notice in verse 6 on Genesis 22. Abraham took the wood, laid it on his Isaac. He took the fire in his hand and a knife. The fire is the symbol of the Spirit of God. That's the part that motivates you to this. And the knife is that part which cuts away your cord that has attached you to your family, to your friends, to your church, to your government, to your religion, to your traditions. Oh, it doesn't mean that you leave your family and run away, but it means that you now have a family that exists in the universe. Everybody is your family. We were talking, Lori and I were talking before about, we were saying this morning about how evil so much prayer is. How evil prayer can be when you say, oh God, give me the job. Oh God, don't let him get the job is what you're really saying. Oh Lord, bring our boys home safely. What you're really saying is, oh Lord, kill all their boys. Don't let their boys come home safely. You say, oh God, I see it on television all the time. You see the religious people, oh Lord, protect our country, heal our land. What about their land? Nobody cares. But see, they don't, that's because they think God is an American. But God's, well, we were saying that to the most remote black hole in the most distant universe is God's. Heal our land. Give me the job. Let me have this. Oh, the hurricane is coming. Oh, we're taking authority over this hurricane. We are going to change its direction so it won't touch us. And it didn't. It didn't touch you. It wiped out the whole town south of you. I saw an ad for someplace in Florida. And they said, we have good news. Hurricane Andrew did not touch us, so you can come and have a great vacation. They didn't mean anything by that. They were just saying it's good news. They survived the hurricane, so you can come. And they didn't mean anything bad about that. But if you study it, what they're saying was, good news, it didn't miss us. It leveled them. Thank God it leveled them and didn't touch us. You see, we prayed, and our prayers were answered. Their town was leveled. That's why prayer can be extremely evil. I mean, there's other prayer which prays and just empties itself for all. Doesn't ask for anything. There's prayer that, like Becky said this morning, can you pray for your healings? God, certainly. Pray for your healing, pray for everybody's healing. Now you know what I'm talking about. The prayer that I'm talking about, that's so much we're asked to, work. You have some people coming in. You could have a guy who needs a job. He says, I want a job. After all, my wife's a nurse, but we need some extra money, and I'm sitting around the house and I don't have to do anything. And this job opens up. Gee, I want this job. Well, here's this other poor guy. He's applying for the job. His wife has got cancer. He's got 5 kids. He's out of work. He doesn't have any money. And so what happens? You come to church and everybody's holding hands and they're lifting this up and they're claiming this job for you. And if you get that job, they're going to say, hallelujah, our prayer was answered. Nobody ever knows of the existence of the poor guy who then staggers out of the place. He didn't get the job, goes home to tell his wife and his kids, I don't know what we're going to do. I just can't get a job. Nobody even knows that in the church. Only God knows that because he cares. So you say, shouldn't I pray for having? No, you shouldn't. You should just lift everything up. Just allow yourself to be totally embraced in the fullness of what God is. Because in every situation, when you get something, somebody else is losing something. So we got to that part about the wood, and here Abraham takes fire, which is the spirit, and the knife, which cuts away our connection to that, which is the earth. And we go on in this story. Now we're on page 16, Genesis 22 and verse 7. And Isaac said, behold, the fire and the wood, where is the lamb for the burnt offering? Where's the lamb for the burnt offering? What is the lamb? And how it's going to be. Don't you see what you're seeing here? Don't you understand? What you're about to see is that the lamb, or the ram in this case, is going to appear out of nowhere. Why? Because when you get yourself up into the mountain, into this holy place of meditation, you bring nothing with you. You need bring nothing with you except what? Your old nature. Willing to sacrifice that lower nature, your only son, the offsprings of the carnal nature, that part that you've depended on for all of your joy, you're willing to give that up and go up into the mountaintop, and there everything that is necessary will be provided. And who is the lamb? Let's see who's the lamb. Revelation chapter 13, page 1009, 1009. Revelation chapter 13, 1009, Revelation chapter 13, verse 8. All that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. Who is it? You see what it said? The lamb, the burnt offering, slain from the foundation of the world. In other words, when the world began, this lamb was slain. In the very beginning, this lamb was the burnt offering. It's always been the burnt offering. It has to be the burnt offering. It's the only burnt offering that exists. From the very first time that the universe began to move, there was a lamb, a ram, and at the top of the universe, its name is Aries. And when the sun, which is the fire, would raise itself, it would consume the lamb, and it would take away the cold of the winter, and the universe would break forth in spring and in summer and in new flowers, because the lamb once again had been consumed by the fire. The burnt offering had taken place, and on the mountaintop of God's holiness, all had been made well, and new life could burst forth again. Slain from the foundation of the world means in the beginning of the movement of the sun of the universe, this is the way it had to be if new life was to come. That is the lamb slain from the foundation of the world. Not a human being who's got to be killed. He portrayed the human being. The Lamb of God dies. Yes, he portrays the human being. And that which is within you, the Jesus within you, has to die. The Isaac within you has to die. And so Isaac, that part of you, turns around and says, where is this? Don't you understand what's happening now? What are you doing? You're taking this part of you that you've always depended on, this physical part of you, you're raising it up to the mountain of the higher consciousness, and there in the higher realms of consciousness is that part of your body which is, come on, give me the word, that connected to that which is Aries, which is the pineal gland of the brain. And as you take all of this energy up into the mountain, and sacrifice it, then at the pineal gland of the brain, the activity happens and merges into the right hemisphere, which brings summertime to your life. That's the lamb which is slain. That's the lamb which is slain from the foundation of the world. Look what happened. Go back to page 17. We're almost done. We've gotten a lot out of these Old Testament things the last few weeks. Genesis chapter 17. Well, no, page 17. Forget that. Genesis chapter 22. I'm on 7. I don't even know where I'm. Genesis 22, page 17, or whatever it is. Okay. And give me a minute to find out where I'm at here. Verse 8. Abraham said, my son, God will provide himself a lamb for the burnt offering. And that's what it is. And you have a lamb. The lamb within you is the pineal gland of the brain. It's Aries. And that's where the burnt offering takes place, as the energy consumes The energy, don't you understand when you go into meditation, that is what they call a kundalini, is a fancy word for the electrical fire that moves up the spine. You come here Tuesday night you're going to hear a piece of music that I've selected for Tuesday night, which will run right up and down the chakras. Right up and down. And it's ancient, it's old, not ancient, but it's old. It's one of the things I used to listen to when I was Tchaikovsky. Magnificent. He wrote magnificent. Did you ever know anything about Tchaikovsky? He wrote magnificent music. He wrote da 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 da. Beautiful. But this thing just runs up, runs down. So when that fire, that energy comes up the spine, it's a fire, it reaches up, and the flames of that fire, it's like an orgasm, and it reaches up, and finally it impacts itself on the pineal gland in the same way that the sun rises up and impacts itself on Aries, and when that happens, burst forth in life on the right side, and summer comes to your life. The Lamb who was slain from the foundation of the world. That's why Jesus Christ tried to get it through your head. The kingdom of God is within you. Everything that happens in here. Boy. Genesis 22:9. They came to the place, and Abraham built an altar and laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son. Here, finally, it's happened. Huh? In the meditation on the mountaintop, that part of you is restrained and cannot move any further to hold itself against you, that lower part of you. But that part that you've depended on, that part you love, that part which is the offsprings of the mind, it got you your job, it got you your relationships, you've depended on it, your traditions, it's the way you do things, it's your life, and you've taken it and you bound it and placed it on this altar. In other words, you're saying, okay, I will not have it any longer. I don't need it any longer. Something different. Abraham is sacrificing his son, his life. You're sacrificing your son, which is the offsprings of your own mind, ascending up into the mountain. Look at verse 10. And Abraham stretched forth his hand and took the knife. And the angel called unto him out of heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham, don't touch the lad, neither do anything unto him. For I know you fear God, seeing you have not withheld your son. Don't you see what just happened? Don't you see what just happened? You're not asked to be a guru. You're not asked to understand all of these things about meditation. You don't have to listen to people instruct you about this stuff. He didn't understand what was going to happen on the mountain. All you gotta be is willing to go. That's all you've ever been asked to do. You don't have to become a meditational scholar, a meditational student. You don't have to know Kundalini from pepperoni. You don't have to know it. All you have to be willing to do is say, yes, I will sit in the mountain of your presence. I will subdue my nature, and I will just be there. You do everything. What's it saying? When you're willing to give up everything, you don't have to give up nothing. See? You won't lose nothing because you're willing to give up everything. Then Abraham prepares, it says in verse 12, verse 13, Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram, caught in the thicket by its horns, subdued by that which is the strength of the lower. And he took the ram and offered him for a burnt offering. See what I'm saying? What is it talking about? Sure, the carnal mind is evil, but you can't live without it. You got to have it. It's part of the things that are like, Joan and I were talking about in the car today. Why did God put a carnal mind? It screws us all. You've got to learn how to reshape it, how to reuse it, how to renew it, how to make it work for you instead of making you work for it. In other words, your mind has to do what you say instead of you doing what your mind says. But once it does, it's a magnificent thing. You can talk to people. What good is it being a spirit and floating around? Who knows you're there? There could be all kinds of spirits sitting around here. Who cares? I don't care. I can't see you. To you, wherever you are. Get out of my way. I'll step on you. I don't care where I go. If you're there, that's the end. What good is it? You got to be a body. You got to have a body. You got to be able to laugh. You got to be able to cry. You got to be able to sing. You got to be able to do things. That's the glory of this thing. And you've got to be able to go to the mountain of your own free will. That's the second part. Nobody's going to put a noose around your neck and drag you up there like a goat. You go if you want to go. You don't go if you don't want to go. That's the beauty of it. The frustration of the Creator, he's saying, oh, wow, up on the mountain, everything is ready. But most people will say, don't go near the mountain. Do you know there's a part in Exodus in which Moses said, and everybody said, oh, stay away. Too dark, too foreboding, stay away. And today, most people are scared to death of what we're talking about. They think it's evil. They think it's evil. So what do? They read about it. And they don't think there's anything evil about a God who says, take your kid up there and slit his throat and set fire to him, and then I'll be your friend. Nothing wrong with that. God's just testing him. He's just tempting them to see if he really loves them. I could tell God right now, forget it, I wouldn't pass the test. Because why? Because you gave me a mind to love. I will protect my wife. I don't care from God or anybody else. Send Jesus, the angels, the whole bunch. I will protect her, and I will not sacrifice her for him or anybody else. Why? That's so beautiful. Because she is God. She is Christ. She is one with all that is life. And that in protecting her, I am protecting God. Because I don't look upon God as something that threatens and scares and tempts and makes people. I look at God as something who says embrace and love and lift up and two, be one and be kind and gentle and be at peace. That's what God really is. Who said he was all of this crap? So the ram Aries that God provides is there. And the ram is still there, isn't he? For everybody. Because the pineal gland of the brain, the pineal gland of the brain, is that which is the symbol of Aries. It's there. It's in the mountain waiting for everybody. Nobody in the world does not have a ram in their mountain. They don't know it's there. You can't. How do you tell them it's there? How do you tell them there's a ram? The ram is waiting and it's caught. Where's the bushes? It's in the brain. It's in the mind. It's in the earth. It is caught there. In other words, it can't go anywhere. It has to stay there waiting for you to come up and make the burnt offering. Don't you see what the heck it's saying? It's there. It is caught by its horns. That's the power is caught in the center of your brain. For everybody. And if you'll just know that that ram is there, then you can go up into the mountain and make the sacrifice. That's what this story's telling you. They didn't have a lion or a goat or a pussycat in the bushes. They had the ram. And if you have to look at the astrological charts, there she is, Aries, the ram. And then you look, and the summer and the springtime, the sun, the fire, consumes the ram. The burnt offering takes place. And when the burnt offering takes place, all the flowers come on the trees. All the little pussycats have pussies babies, and all the bunnies have bunny babies, and all babies and all over the place. Everything comes out into life. Why? Why does it happen? Because of the burnt offering. New life. And so what you have are new thoughts, new ideas, new dreams, new plans. Huh? All of this. Why? because the fire has risen up through the six chakras and mounts itself up to Aries, the pineal gland, consumes it, and summer comes. All is new. Because what? You have not withheld your son. And your son are the offsprings of your mind, which are the carnal ideas. You're willing to sacrifice them on the mountain, which is the higher mind. You're willing to go up and sacrifice. That means that you don't know when you get up there. You don't know. God's liable to say, okay, Al, that's the end of this stuff. You're being this nice, kind gentleman. I'm going to have you be a male go-go dancer for now. You don't know what he's going to do. I'm just a guy. What I'm saying to you is once you release, once you let go and you enter into nothingness, you give this God carte blanche. So you have to trust him. They're scared to death out there. Don't go in there. You'll open your minds to devils. There's no devils in my mind. I don't make about their mind. You're not going to open yourself to anything but the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world. And because you have not withheld your son, then you have the blessing. You don't have a loss of anything. You have a sharing in the divine powers of God and the abundant blessings. All because what happened? You came and you felt something in you that said, I have to move in a different direction. I've been instructed to go into the land of God's chosen people, Moriah, which is the right hemisphere of the brain. I have to take my only son, which are the thoughts of my lower mind, up into the mountain top, which is the higher realms of consciousness. And there I have to sacrifice that, but then I'll be no more. But as I get up into the mountain, there is the ram, the pineal gland of the brain, and there the fire is made, it is lit, and the consummation takes place. And I am still whole. I am still a human being. I am still a person. But the sacrifice has been made, and so now I am one of God's chosen because I have entrance to the right side. And that God part of me now will have instructions given to it, and it will filter down, and it will direct my path through my carnal life. And I will still have thoughts, and I'll still have crazy things go on. That's part of the carnal mind. But they won't control me anymore. Oh, they'll be there, but I'll be in control. You'll be in control. And so I don't care about nationalities anymore. I don't put down anybody anymore. My mind has changed. I don't feel about things the way I used to feel. I have new ways of feelings now. See, I care about the animals. I care about the fish. I care about the little children. You care about the old. And that's not, you say, well, I can't do anything. But you care. For God's sakes, that's the first step. And if I care, and you care, and you care, and you care, and you care, and everybody starts to care, then things happen. See? Then things happen. It's like you put down your gun that you shoot the animal. You break it into a million pieces. I was telling a fellow in the office the other day who was going to go hunting or something. I said, why don't you go hunting with a camera? Sneak up on him and get a picture and pretend if you wish. But why not celebrate the joy of life? I see the people here, they take care of little animals and stray. Why? Because you care. Your heart bursts out. In fact, there's no other way you can do it. People yell, oh, you're feeding stray cats. And you say, oh, well, I don't want. What else can you do? Then you have to say, hey, God, where the heck are you inside of me? This guy's giving me a tough time. Nothing happened to anybody, but you take care of this. I don't want to have the aggravation. Some way, there's a way made now. And you sit back and you depend on it. And you accept it. But please learn what has been given to you tonight through the mysticism of the ancient tales, the allegories of the ancient tales. What's expected. And remember, don't think that anybody can teach you how to do this. All you have to do is go to the mountain. Everything is waiting there to be taken care of. Okay? You just go. And you know how to get there. Jesus Christ has told you how to get there. Go to the upper room. Raise yourself upward, and you'll enter into the mountain. And once you get there, you got to leave the old nature behind. It's got to stay down with the ass. I was going to say something. Figure we better go. Thank you very much.